if you are not using these 10 words and phrases regularly, then you might not be as elegant as you think. Now in today's video, I'm gonna go through those words or phrases that you should be saying if you want to sound like an elegant woman rather than like an awkward woman. My dear elegant ladies, welcome back to a new video. Ladies, I need to be honest with you because there are two things that I have really struggled in my own personal upgrade as I've been doing this journey to remove some of my bad habits and improve myself and become more also elegant as a result. Now, two of those things that I've really struggled are posture and speech. Now, I've spoken about posture before in previous videos, but today I want to talk a little bit about speech. So because I am not a native English speaker, I do speak sometimes with bad grammar, I don't always know how to pronounce things correctly, and I don't always know the right words to use in certain circumstances. But I am trying to do the best I can. However, I have been working a lot on trying to improve my speech. I have taken speech coaching lessons. And today's video is actually all about the things that I have learned while taking this coaching. So I'm hoping that this is going to help you. I am not an expert on this subject at all, but I do want to share some of the bits and pieces that I have learned because I know that it's going to be of use for you. But before we begin, I want to remind you to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any videos that I release every Sunday. Now let's start with elegant phrase rule number 1. Let's talk about alcoholic beverages such as Prosecco and Champagne. And you know that they should always be called Prosecco or Champagne? You should not be using phrases like, "Oh, I would like to have a glass of bubbly, please." Okay, I don't know why I just said it like that, but an elegant lady would never refer to a fine alcoholic beverage with those terms. Instead, she would call it by its proper name. So let's say you are drinking Prosecco, you say Prosecco, or if you're drinking Champagne, you say Champagne. So we don't really want to add all kinds of different nicknames here. Plus, there's also other words like booze or fizzy that we should avoid calling alcoholic beverages because it just sounds so much more refined. Now, point number 2 that I've learned, and that is to avoid abbreviations. Because speaking of nicknames, it doesn't sound as elevated when you, as an example, say PJs instead of pajamas or uni instead of university. But I want you to be aware that it's not an elegance crime that you commit if you use abbreviation. Not at all. Just try to say, let's say, invitation instead of invite, as an example. But you're going to notice how your speech will simply sound so much more elevated when you use the full sentences or full names instead of shortening them. So this is more of a tip than a rule. Number 3 is to say terribly instead of very. And now this is an advice that I really need to listen up myself because this is actually one of my worst habits in speech and I still haven't fixed this. It's when you overuse very. You say very this, very that, very, very here, very, very there, you know? And I say that so much and pretty much in every sentence almost, so not good. But I am trying to reduce it, and one of the advice that I've received is to say terribly instead. Example, instead of saying that the restaurant was very full last night, it sounds better when you say it was terribly full last night. But mind you ladies, it can sound a little bit repetitive if you keep using terribly in every sentence, so you need to really mix this up. So just make sure you start reducing very from your vocabulary and add a little bit more terribly. Oh, by the way, if you want to work more closely with me, you visit annabay.com because there you will get more information about my coaching program, but you're also going to find out more information about my current free workshop called 10 Brutal Mistakes that show you're not elegant and how to fix these mistakes. Now ladies, this workshop is absolutely free and soon it's about to disappear. So make sure you visit 10elegancemistakes.com to sign up for this free workshop. You can also visit annabay.com. See you there. Point number 4 is, instead of saying, "Can I have this? Can I have that?" you can say, "May I have?" Ladies, if any of you are familiar with formal writing and speaking practices, then you'll know how may I is the right way to ask permission for something. Can I is definitely commonly used, but it actually technically makes more sense to say may. It also sounds a little bit more polite too. Number 5, ladies, stop saying pardon me, especially if you're saying it because you think that this is going to make you sound more posh. Now, it is actually a common misconception that pardon me is a proper way of excusing yourself and that it's also posh and polite. Well, I thought so too for years, but I've actually learned that in upper class circles, it's actually viewed as something quite basic and unsophisticated. So a proper and more correct way is to simply say, excuse me. Number 6. Some other words that I have learned that most of us keep overusing, those words are totally and completely. These words can be replaced in your vocabulary by using instead the word quite. As an example, instead of saying it's totally hot outside, it sounds better when you say it's quite hot outside. Number 7 is to add rather to your vocabulary. Example, it was a rather lovely day. Instead of saying it was a really lovely day. And we can use rather as a word when we really want to emphasize on something in an elegant way, because it does sound a little bit more posh this way. Number 8. Ladies, do you go to the toilet or the loo for my British ladies? Or do you visit the lavatory? As I've learned in my speech coaching, toilet is considered a lower level speech. And the word itself has been historically incorrect, as toilet or toilette was used before to refer to a person's makeup, hence toiletry bags or eau de toilette. Another variation could be to say bathroom, but the word would then describe a room with a bath, which is oftentimes not the case. For this reason, lavatory is the correct word to use, but I actually personally don't even think it's necessary to always give a description of where you're going. I would say sometimes only, excuse me, if I leave for the lavatory, or let's say I say, excuse me, I'm going to the ladies or the powder room. I just find that sometimes lavatory can in some circumstances feel a little bit like TMI, you know, too much information. Number 9, hello ladies. Doesn't that sound better than hey ladies or hi ladies? Now there's nothing wrong saying hey or hi, but you need to really be aware that it's actually an informal way of greeting someone versus hello. Hello is simply more formal, so you need to think about who it is that you are saying hello to. As you know, the rule of etiquette is that you adapt depending on situation and environment that you're in, because rules, they change. For this reason, with close friends, you can say hi, you can say hey, you can say even what's up if you want. But I believe it's better that you get used to always use the formal greeting with people that you are not so familiar with, or maybe you don't even know them, rather than using more intimate words. Number 10, last but not least, to spice up a vocabulary to sound a little bit more refined, one of the tips is to say how, and then, as an example, you basically say, how lovely. How charming, how wonderful. Then just saying nice or cute or fun. It might sound a little bit old-fashioned, but ladies, it is going to elevate your everyday language. In my next video, 5 things you should never say to rich people. I will give you tips on things you should avoid saying if you're going to mingle with the upper circles of society. Because you know, they have their own rules and rituals, and I don't want you to make mistakes in that community. Now ladies, I will see you in that video.